Believe it or not, this is not a Godzilla minus one video. Believe it or not. No, we're going to be talking about this news that's coming out about how Mandalorian Season 4 is going to be a movie. Now, this is really not huge news to me because if you remember, they announced that Dave Filoni would be doing a Star Wars movie that would sort of be the culmination of all the stuff that was built up with the TV shows, meaning Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and maybe Book of Boba Fett. And this whole idea is supposed to be this big sort of Avenger-style movie where they all come together. That was announced at one of the, I think it was at Celebration. Yeah, Celebration. So along with the Rey movie and the James Mangold First Jedi movie. Now, out of the three projects, this is the one that excited me the most because Dave Filoni gets to actually direct a feature motion picture. And it's just one step closer to Filoni actually getting the reins of Star Wars. We talked about on here that he was promoted recently. And, you know, Kathleen Kennedy, for all the crap that she gets, and in some ways it's very deserved, she at least recognized that Filoni's the guy to go with. So if they're going to if she's going to delegate all the Star Wars decisions to him, that's a good choice. And so I'm sure Favreau will be involved too. Now, the question is this movie, this Mando Season 4 thing, is this actually going to be the same thing that we're talking about with the Filoni combined universe, or is this something else? Let's not forget that Ahsoka ended on a cliffhanger. So the idea that I had always thought that they had talked about, and that was rumored, is that it's going to be Mandalorian, you know, Din Djarin and Grogu, along with their whole parade of good guys, you know, Bo-Katan, you know, the whole crew. And Ahsoka, and maybe even Luke, and a bunch of Jedi students up against Thrawn's forces. That's been sort of the talk. Now, of course, Ezra, these characters, this would be a perfect place. If you're going to kill off Ezra or any of these other characters from Rebels, that would be the movie to do it in. And it could be an epic sort of culmination of this post-Return of the Jedi, pre-Force Awakens story. And I think it's going to work. And actually, to be honest with you, I kind of wish it was a trilogy. I think it'd be awesome if they made more than one. But let's see how the first one does. So, ultimately, I don't think this is necessarily bad news. I think they recognize that Mando Season 3 was, you know, a bit of a failure compared to Season 2. I still liked most of it. I mean, I think some folks crapped on it a lot this year. But ultimately, it wasn't that bad, man. It just wasn't as good as the first two seasons. And a lot of it had to do with some of the, I don't know if you want to call it filler episodes, but some of the episodes were kind of pointless. So if they're just going to take the story they wanted to tell, and instead of adding in filler episodes and side quests and things like that, which Mando going on side quests is not usually a bad thing. Look what happened in Book of Boba Fett. It worked. But if they're going to do that and just take out the filler and just go with a more tight story, that could work. I feel like Ahsoka Season 2 is going to have to happen because obviously we had a cliffhanger ending unless they resolve all of that in the movie, which they could do. Maybe the first act is how to get, you know, Ahsoka out of the other galaxy, bring her back into the main galaxy, sort of like what they did with Return of the Jedi, how they had the first act was saving Han. Maybe do that and then build up to the big Thrawn thing. I still kind of feel like they might need a little bit more build up. I would love it if an Ahsoka Season 2 came along, and in that season, you have kind of two different stories. You have Ahsoka trying to get out of that galaxy, finding a way, and then over on the other side, you've got Thrawn building up his forces. You know, and that, again, that could also be paired with a third story, which is Ezra trying to get everybody together to warn them about Thrawn and prepare for the incoming war. We could actually have a beautiful Star War, no pun intended, in the third act with everybody coming together, the Republic against the last of the Imperial remnant, and that could be that. And I think for a lot of people who hate the sequel trilogy, I think this is a great way to kind of create, not a new canon, but it sort of could bring resolution to this. In other words, if we see like Luke in the movie, for example, I know Kennedy said we're not going to see Luke, but let's not forget Filoni's now the creative guy, so I think he might be able to convince her otherwise. if we see Luke be a hero one more time, something Last Jedi did not give us. And yeah, I know we saw it in Mando Season 2 finale, but I mean, like, actually make a difference along with Ahsoka, along with Grogu and the whole crew. That right there, I think, would be satisfactory enough for the fans that hated the sequel trilogy to say, you know what, my canon ends here. Because a lot of Star Wars fans don't count 7, 8, and 9 as canon. Obviously, Disney owns the property, so it's quote-unquote official canon. But a lot of fans don't count it because of how bad those movies were and how much of a mess they were. But it would be sort of cool if this is the real, the fans' canon, if that makes sense. For all of us who didn't like what they did in the sequel trilogy, while still leaving it open so that the sequel trilogy events could happen for those who did like those movies. But to be honest with you, I don't know a lot of people who like those movies, man, especially the last one. Remember, The Last Jedi had its defenders. The Last Jedi had people that liked it. I wasn't one of them, but it did. Rise of Skywalker, though, man, like, there were some folks that said it was okay, and some said it was better than Last Jedi, but I don't know anyone who called it, like, an outstanding movie. I don't know anyone who said that. Well, no, that's not true. There's one guy I know, I'm not going to say who it is, he said that's his favorite Star Wars movie, and he also hasn't seen The Dark Knight because people overhyped it. He's one of those guys, you know how sometimes there's those contrarian guys who, if somebody tells you, hey, you should watch this, they just automatically neg on it. And I understand being that way to a degree, but, dude, sometimes being a contrarian can be kind of annoying. I've had a couple friends of mine that it's almost like they do it on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, they just want attention. I'm not saying he's like that, but he's the one guy who, I'm not even kidding, who said that Rise of Skywalker is his favorite Star Wars movie. That's wild. That's wild. So, but anyways, back to this. So, Mando Season 3 being a movie, why is that an issue? I'm sorry, Season 4. Season 4 being a movie. The good thing is we've already got the characters established in the show. And so people, and the people who haven't seen the show yet, when the movie gets announced and we have trailers, they're going to probably be inclined to go check out the shows if they haven't seen them yet. I know that all the hardcore Star Wars fans already watched The Mandalorian, but there's probably a few out there who just stick to the movies. Then you can kind of learn more about the characters. So there's a lot they could do. I mean, we could finally get a scene with Anakin talking to Ahsoka and Luke with de-aging technology and voice AI, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. We could actually get a scene with Luke, Han, and Leia together fighting the battle. Carrie Fisher passed away, but with CG, like what they did with Rogue One, which at the time it was a while ago, it's much better technology now. We could have a scene where, even if we don't see Leia, just her on the intercom, giving orders would be awesome. And have Han, the Millennium Falcon with Chewie. It's sort of like, it would be the reunion that we all wanted for Episode 7. That's what Filoni can give us, bro. And I think it may not ever make up for what the sequel trilogy did, but I know some fans, including myself, who would at least be like, you know what? At least he gave us that. So that's it. Those are my thoughts. What do you think? Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will talk to y'all soon.